Good evening. I'm Mayor Wayne Messam. Thanks for joining me this evening for the very first virtual State of the City for Miramar. I'll be fielding live questions during this presentation, so you can begin to place your comments and questions in the comment field on Facebook Live. Join me in welcoming the City of Miramar's Police Department and Fire Rescue Honor Guard.
Honor Guard, forward march. Mark time, march. Ready, hold. Left, face. Prepare to pose. Post. Present arms.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor Guard, order arms. A moment of silence for our fallen brothers and sisters. Thank you. Honor Guard. Left, face. Forward, march.
Good evening, and welcome to the City of Miramar's State of the City Address. This has been such an unprecedented year, and this year's State of Address will be virtual, and we're so glad that you've taken the time to learn more about our city and our city's accomplishment over the last year. Before I get into the address, I would like to share what to expect during this virtual State of the City. I'll talk about our city's accomplishments and what we've achieved over the last year. We'll talk about the impacts of COVID-19 and the City of Miramar's response. And then we'll get a chance to look at the way forward under this new norm. And will be followed by commission initiatives from the Miramar City Commission after the address. So let's take a look at some of the accomplishments of the City of Miramar. The City of Miramar has been a leader statewide in terms of our businesses that we have in the city. We're the home to more Fortune 500 companies than any city in the Tri-County area, and our goal is to keep it that way. As you can see, there are many national and regional brands that call Miramar home. In fact, there's been over $323 million in capital investment in the city of Miramar with many of these corporations, creating more than 1 million square feet of space for them to conduct their business. What I'm most excited about our business climate in the city of Miramar is the fact that we've been able to attract hundreds of small businesses, the mom and pop corporations that serve as the economic engine for our community. You know, as the mayor of the city, I'm often asked, why is it that Miramar attracts so many businesses? And I think what's in the secret sauce is the diversity of space that we have in our community. When you look at our space in the city of Miramar, we have over 3.7 million square feet of office space, nearly 10 million square feet of industrial flexible space, and another nearly 4 million in retail space. When you have such a great blend of available options, there's no secret now why Miramar has been able to attract so many companies. One of the big reasons for the success over the past year in attracting development into the city of Miramar is the fact that we have one of the last remaining green spaces that is available for a large development. And when you look at the central hub of the city of Miramar, the corridors along Flamingo Road, Red Road, and Miramar Parkway, we have some amazing development projects. So let's take a look at some of these wonderful projects that are taking place. Our first project, the Monarch Town Center. It is a retail shopping plaza that is nearing completion. It is anchored by Publix, Ross, and a Planet Fitness shopping center, as well as Five Below. We're really excited about this project because in the heartway of Flamingo and Miramar Parkway was just a vacant cow pasture that now has a retail center that complements the beautiful community of Monarch Lakes. The Grove, located just a quarter mile north on Flamingo Road from the Monarch Town Center, is a retail establishment. There's a daycare, as well as other retail establishments in the Grove, a very intimate facility that we are really excited about in the city of Miramar. And right across the street from the Kohl's Shopping Center and the new Monarch Town Center is Miramar Station. This development will be anchored by Aldi Shopping Center, a Chick-fil-A, and a very beautiful mixed-use residential development that will provide amazing housing options for our current residents and individuals seeking to live in our wonderful city. Our next development is probably one of the more marquee developments because it sits right at the heart of the gateway of the city of Miramar, right off of Red Road and the Turnpike interchange, the Altus. This mixed-use development will be anchored by a commercial development that will have Flanagan's as well as Starbucks, but we will have hundreds of residential units that will be available for our future residents. What's really unique about this project is the public parkway space that is available not only for the residents of Altus, but to the public, and it's great green recreation space that any person in the city of Miramar can come and enjoy. Now, as we turn our focus to Town Center, Block 2, which is the surface parking lot in front of City Hall, is ready for development. The city has entered into a public-private partnership with the Related Group that will construct a beautiful tower which will have retail on the first floor and luxury housing, along with workforce housing available for our residents. We're really excited about this because it provides a diversity in housing stock that our community desperately needs. One of the marks of a well-developed city is the ability to facilitate travel. And the city of Miramar has done an exceptional job in attracting a number of hotel chains to our community. With all the exciting developments that are taking place in the center part of our community, we are just as busy out east with some significant commercial rehabilitation projects taking place in historic Miramar. I like to feature our B&M project with the B&M Shopping Center. B&M was one of the first recipients of the Economic Development Fund's grant to improve facade improvements for commercial properties. And because of that investment in the B&M Shopping Center, they are now the home of some amazing tenants that is serving our community. One of those tenants, Cleveland's Old Fashioned Ice Cream, is a community favorite. If you haven't tried a scoop, I beg you to do so. Let's hear from Cleveland's Old Fashioned Ice Cream.
My name is Cleveland Smith. I'm the owner of Cleveland Old Fashioned Ice Cream in Miramar, 6933 Miramar Parkway. Well, my business is a fun place. It's an ice cream, it's a treat. And once you taste my ice cream, you gotta come back. Miramar is a great city, and I have a few friends who live here and own business here, and they encouraged me to come to Miramar, and I did. I would like to give special thanks to Eric Silver and Commissioner Colburn. The city has been very helpful to me. They helped me along the way, financially and emotionally. They helped me, to get this far. It is very wonderful for me to be open at this time and doing so great. I'm going to be around here for a very, very long time to come.
I hope you enjoyed hearing from Cleveland's Old Fashioned Ice Cream and why he made Miramar his home. Now let's take a turn and look at economic development in the city of Miramar over the past year. COVID-19 was very devastating to not only the United States and the state of Florida, but we definitely felt the impacts here locally. But I'm proud to stand before you to say that the city of Miramar is weathering this storm. When you look at our unemployment rate of 8.5%, it's on target with national and state averages, and we are glad to see more and more of our residents who lost jobs get back to work. When you look at property values in the city of Miramar, over 7% in property appreciation over the last 5 years on average. What that means is that people just simply want to be in the city of Miramar, and we would like to keep that trend going. As it relates to the accomplishments of our city, I always love to leave the best for last, and that is, what is the quality of life for our residents, and what have we done for you over the last year? The city of Miramar has invested hundreds of millions of dollars in our infrastructure, public safety, and recreation projects. These investments will ensure that the city of Miramar's infrastructure will last for decades to come. It will ensure that you will have a safe community, and it'll ensure that you and your families have places to relax, to play, as well as to get fit in. And we're so excited about the recent opening of Paw Central, which is the city's first dog park. It's been an asset that has been in demand for many years, and we're just so happy that we have a home now for our furry residents and friends in the community. On behalf of the city of Miramar, we would like to thank every household that participated in Census 2020. You being counted ensures that the city of Miramar will receive its adequate funding from the federal government for our schools, our hospitals, and our roadways. So thank you so much for being counted. One of the attributes of a great city is to have many options and a safe place to call home. And that is being made possible because of the hundreds of millions of dollars in investment to develop wonderful housing developments throughout the city of Miramar. So why are these developments being made? Where one, our property values continue to increase, and we have a large number of high-paying jobs. In fact, over the last 4 years, the city of Miramar has attracted over 1,600 new high-paying jobs, averaging over $50,000 to $90,000 a year. When we're able to attract wonderful companies with high-paying jobs, we're in the position to attract developments that continues to bring diversity in housing for our residents. Now let's take a deeper look at some of these wonderful developments. First up is Luma at Miramar. Luma at Miramar are apartments that offer 1, 2, and 3 bedroom options, and it's located just less than a mile away from City Hall. Catalina at Miramar, located just west of Luma at Miramar, expands those options. It's over 300 apartments and provides a lifestyle that's very attractive for young professionals and young families. I'm proud to say that the city of Miramar provides amazing and beautiful housing options for our residents, regardless of where you may fall on the economic ladder. However, 3 years ago, we were ranked as having the second highest rental rates in all of Florida. We went to work and began to seek out opportunities to attract developers to address this dire situation. Let's take a look at some new residential development that is providing some wonderful housing stock for our community. New developments taking place in historic Miramar are really on fire and the market is very active. There are several developments that are taking place right now, including developments by Habitat Homes, Palms at Miramar, Positano Villas, which is a 35-unit apartment project that is currently under construction, right adjacent to Snake Warriors and Island Park. Martin Apartments, which is an 8-unit DRC-approved development that will take place on Southwest 40th Court. We're really excited about these developments, and our investments in our community is really paying off because developers are coming in and providing some amazing housing options for our residents. Last year's State of the City address, you may recall the ribbon cutting unveiling of Najibe Gardens, which is a 30-unit completed project for phase 1. The project has been so successful that the developers is starting a second Najibe development right across the street to do the same. And we're really excited about the success of this developer, but more importantly, we are so excited about the new homes that our residents will be gaining with this new development. I cannot close out this section on housing without directly addressing the needs for our seniors. We know that it is important that our senior community have a wonderful place to call home in the city of Miramar. As a result, the city of Miramar has partnered with the Archdiocese of Miami to form a public-private partnership that will deliver over 113 senior affordable housing units so that our seniors can have an option to live in the city of Miramar. So now if you are thinking about bringing grandma or granddad closer to home, you now have an opportunity to do so with this development. One of the qualities of being a resident of the city of Miramar that I hear that residents enjoy are the amazing community and resident activities that the city offers. This year started off with a bang before the pandemic hit us. And we were able to have some wonderful events in the city of Miramar, including holiday lighting event, our annual Martin Luther King Jr. Parade that we celebrate every year. But as a result of COVID-19, many of our activities had to be canceled to reduce the spread of COVID-19. However, because we realize that culture and events are very important to our residents, we have transitioned so many activities now to virtual events. We've been able to offer drive-in movies in our community. We are providing senior services. My periodic conversations with the mayor, which is done on Facebook Live on the city's Facebook page, provides valuable information that the community needs and finds value in. So we thank you all for your patience as we all go through this transition together, and we'll remain creative to continue to bring quality programming to you, even if it's virtual. Our Miramar Cultural Center remains a crown jewel in our city in terms of our cultural arts and bringing the community together. And the 2019 and 2020 season was on fire. We were able to witness some amazing Grammy award-winning performances right here in the heart of the city of Miramar. Despite the interruption by COVID-19 on the MCC cultural season, our Miramar Cultural Center staff was able to quickly put together the MCC Live to You virtual programming, which has programmings available from our youth to our seniors. And please stay tuned for some of the amazing programmings that's headed your way. The city of Miramar is the home to over 40 parks and recreational spaces throughout the city. This is perhaps the most utilized asset of all of our entire city. And we could not be more proud of our ballparks, our soccer fields, and our newly opened Paw Central Dog Park, and the many other amenities that will come to our city for recreational activities, for the benefit of our residents. And we'll continue to improve upon all of our recreational assets, including our parks, our swimming pools, and everywhere that you can do exercise or even to take a picnic. This past year, the Miramar Amphitheater also shared its stage with Grammy Award-winning performers. We were so excited to be the home of the Grace Jamaican Jerk Fest, which featured Third World, which is an internationally renowned reggae band. We also had the opportunity to bring additional international artists to Creole Fest, which came to the city's amphitheater in a big way. And despite COVID-19, the Miramar Regional Park and Amphitheater was transformed to help serve our community. By having weekly food drives, we've been able to serve as a community tens of thousands of meals for Miramar residents and our neighbors throughout South Florida. One of the great events that took place this year was the drive-through graduations for Miramar High School, Everglades High School, and Somerset Academy. But perhaps my most favorite was our VPK graduates the Miramar Vales, which is our VPK program and the young little souls that was able to celebrate their graduation right through Miramar Regional Park with their families. We love you, and congratulations to all of our graduates. As the mayor of Miramar, my promise and my commitment has always been that I would like all of Miramar to be proud of our city. That includes the West, Central, and East historic Miramar. One of the commitments that myself and my colleagues on the Miramar Commission is to ensure that historic Miramar is revitalized, redevelopment, and truly engages into a renaissance. To be able to make East Miramar as attractive and as vibrant as our newer parts of our city, we realize as a city that we have to make investments into our infrastructure, public safety, as well as recreational assets. The city of Miramar has made tremendous investments, over $190 million since 2007, in improving our stormwater management, our water treatment plants, as well as our recreational assets. These are not sexy projects. When you start talking about stormwater and when you start talking about water treatment, these projects are very disruptive to a community, but it's some of the necessary growing pains that a community has to go to improve its infrastructure. We start there underground because once we know when we lay the foundation and the groundwork to do the infrastructure to improve and to attract development, we'll see all of the developments that I've shared earlier. And because of those developments, we in the city of Miramar can be proud of the fact that not only have we invested in historic Miramar, we're beginning to see the fruits of our labor and our investments. So let's look at some of our more recent investments in our infrastructure. Phase 4 stormwater improvements, the reuse water distribution expansion, our brand new state-of-the-art East water treatment plant, canal bankment restoration, as well as streetscape improvements throughout historic Miramar, not only makes our city more safe, but it makes it more attractive. Let's take a look at some of these specific projects, and especially in our infrastructure. When you look at our historic Miramar infrastructure improvement timeline, you would see that through phase 1, 2, and 3, which we'll be completing in 2020, would have increased and expanded our stormwater management system and our water distribution system. Phase 4 is slated to start in 2021, followed by our phases 5 and 6, which will bring water main improvements as well as distribution enhancements throughout historic Miramar. What that means to the community is that when it rains, your driveways will no longer flood. When you turn on your water, you will have the best, cleanest water being treated by the most advanced and newest utility in the state of Florida. Before I leave the subject of infrastructure, I would like to highlight the East Water Treatment Facility. You know, our neighbors to the Midwest, cities like Flint, Michigan, and you look in the Mississippi Delta and cities like Jackson, Mississippi, they have some extreme challenges as relates to providing clean water for their residents, and our thoughts remain with our friends in those respective cities and across the country. So when we are able to open up a brand new $40 million water treatment facility, not only does it guarantees that you will have clean water, but it really says in years to come, we will have the engineering and water support to support any major redevelopment and expansion and redevelopment efforts throughout historic Miramar. That is the foresight that you deserve. That is the foresight that ensures that our future remains strong. To close out our investment into historic Miramar, I would like to feature the brand new historic Miramar Public Safety Complex. This facility, located in historic Miramar, just south of the Shirley Bronco Park, will provide public safety assets and resources for our community. In addition, a community room will be available for community meetings, as well as for activities that will support the unification and the community trust between our residents and our public safety professionals. We're very excited about these projects. And when you look at all of the developments that are taking place, like our historic Miramar public safety projects, our renovations of parks throughout Miramar, these projects have all been possible because of the 2013 revenue bond. This revenue bond was a project that I brought forward when I was a city commissioner to determine and to find a pathway to invest in the city of Miramar. It was a hard-fought battle to get that approved, but because of its passage, many of the successes that we've been able to present, not only this year, but years past, as well as years to come, will be possible because of that investment. So we thank you for your support, and we thank you for entrusting your leadership in regards to bringing up these solutions on behalf of the residents for the benefit of our community. It's always exciting to talk about our successes over the prior year. But we all know that this year just came to a streaking halt when COVID-19 basically caught the entire world off guard. And this address would not be complete without talking about the impacts of COVID-19, as well as sharing how it really disrupted our lives, the lives of our residents, the lives of our business community, as well as the operations of our city, and more importantly, our city staff. So what basically happened? Well, you know, those of you who are parents, you struggled perhaps with your children taking school virtually. If you're a business owner, perhaps you struggled because you were forced to close and you wondered how you would make payroll, or perhaps pay your rent or mortgage, or even pay your utility bills. We know here at City Hall, we basically had to close down City Hall because of the threat of the virus and the spread of the virus. So what did we do in the city of Miramar? In the city of Miramar, for our residents, we basically worked with our residents by meeting their needs. Every week at Miramar Regional Park, we offer a food distribution by partnering with organizations like Feeding South Florida, where we have served tens of thousands of meals since the onset of this pandemic. We've provided assistance programs to help with rental, mortgage, and utilities. In fact, the city of Miramar, we placed the moratorium on utility service disconnections so that our residents can not only maintain CDC guidelines by being able to have proper hygiene by the utilization of water, but we realize that this is a very tough time because some of our residents lost their jobs through no fault of their own. We've provided mass distributions for our residents, for those residents who may have were not in a position initially to have masks just because of the shortage, and we were able to step in the gap. I was successfully able to work with the governor's office to establish a COVID testing site at the Vernon E. Hargray Youth Center in East Miramar, which we then subsequently opened 2 additional testing sites for convenient testing for our residents, because we realize the importance of providing an opportunity for our residents to know the status. So we felt the pain, we stood with you, and we continue to stand with our residents. As it relates to our business community, the city of Miramar provided $1 million in economic development grants for our residents impacted by COVID-19. For our businesses that were qualified businesses were able to receive assistance to pay their rents and their lease payments for 4 months, as well as utility services directly to the debt holder or to the landlord or to the utility that was owed. What that meant for our small businesses was just a little peace of mind for a period of time so that we all could figure out where the country was going, where the state was going, where the county was going, and even where the city of Miramar was going as a result of COVID-19. In addition, we offered opportunities to waive payment processing in the city of Miramar for our businesses as well as our residents. All of those fees were waived so they can make it a little bit easier for our residents to be able to weather this storm. As it relates to the city of Miramar and how we responded, the first thing we did was our city manager put together a reopening task force so that it could lay out the policies and administrative procedures to, at certain benchmarks, allow the city of Miramar to begin to slowly open in consistent measures with the CDC, state executive orders, as well as county executive orders, along with our own, so that we can have a measured approach in the city of Miramar. We've been very aggressive from the start of this, and we continue to monitor it because we have put safety first. In addition to that, we realized that our city staff, regardless of the situation, had to continue to work as frontline service providers. When you turn on your water, you expect your water to be clean. When you want to have a vital city service like a building permit, we continue to process. So we began to offer testing for our city employees so that they could know their status, so that themselves as well as their families could be protected, as well as we provided and made provisions for many of our staff members to work from home so that they could continue to provide the vital services for our community.
My name is Vincent Burnett. I'm a Miramar resident and a COVID-19 survivor. I found out I had the coronavirus approximately late July. We always think that it's going to happen to somebody else. And when it happens to you, it was more shock and disbelief. It went from simple symptoms of a cold or just general fatigue to within that 3 or 4 period, the cold became a cough, and the cough became a little bit of not being able to quite breathe. After the diagnosis, it was more so thinking I'm going to go home, take some antibodies, and I'll be back as new. But I didn't go home until 12 days later. So it just affected my life from the simple things that we take for granted in life to ultimately my health and dealing with the health situation of actually having the virus. I think the city has taken responsible measures as far as emphasizing wearing the mask. The mask is not a prop. The mask is not a political device. The mask is a protective mechanism. And even then, I think just more so awareness and making sure that the residents don't get complacent and making sure that the city government facilities and the city business entities try to enforce wearing the mask, social distancing measures, and temperature checks. I'm just grateful to be alive. I'm grateful for the wonderful city of Miramar and the measures that they're doing to advocate wearing the mask and appropriate social distance to prevent the COVID-19 from spreading even further.
My name is Rocky Rowland, and this is my son, Joshua Rowland. You know, one day I went to work, and the next day my work was shut down, and I had no job and no livelihood, and all the things that I loved to do, which was, you know, being with my students, was taken away from me just like that. The city of Miramar offered the housing grant for people that are rentals and so on and so forth. And they came through and they offered a program for people that were behind on their rent and their utilities. And I was really, really blessed and very fortunate that I was able to be one of those people that was a recipient of the grant. My son and I, and they came through and they helped me with my rent. You never know how things are going to turn out for you. So when something like a tragedy, because this really was a tragedy, when a tragedy happens and then you actually have a resource to turn to help you, it felt really good.
My name is Edward Gassett, Freeze and Nitro Creamery. COVID-19 impacted us starting in March. We were doing great in the first 2.5 months, and then when everything shut down, luckily we were able to stay open, but essentially it was almost as if we were not. Sales were down drastically. The amount of people were not coming in. We were still having to purchase product to be able to try to sell and supply for the community, and we were ending up, essentially that was all going in the garbage. It wasn't even called a break it even, it was breaking zero. With the help of the city, with the economic stimulus for small businesses, we were able to meet the needs that we had with the landlord. There was no way that we would be able to pay rent, and there's no way we were able to have that amount of money saved up to be able to cover all of the expenses. And when the city announced that, we jumped at it because it was a chance to be able to survive, to try to make it to the other side. We would not have been able to stay in business without that help. I would like to thank the city for the help they provided. I also would like to thank all of those patrons, all our guests that during this whole thing still came, especially in the hardest months. They wanted to support the small businesses. Even when we have a reward system, they did not want to take their free ice cream. They did not want to put any type of stress. And those people, we appreciate so much.
Those were some very heart-wrenching stories, real life situations that happened right here in the city of Miramar. In local government, we don't always have the luxury of depending on Washington to come in to save the day. And we as a city have been so blessed to be able to have the resources available to respond to this pandemic. And we'll continue to do as much as we can until we all go through the other side of this tunnel. Before I can leave this topic of COVID-19, I must be able to have an opportunity to recognize and honor our frontline responders. And I'll have a short panel discussion with some of the best that our nation has to offer right here in the city of Miramar. Help me welcome our panelists for this discussion. First, we have Miramar resident and CEO of Memorial Hospital West, Leah Carpenter. And we also have from Miramar Fire Rescue, Sylvia Mantovano. And Major Shalita Smith from the Miramar Police Department, who serves as our code compliance manager. Welcome, ladies. Have a seat.
Thank you.
COVID-19 it's felt like, it really hit around late February. March is when it really became an issue where the CDC and the federal government began to put down mandates in regards to recognizing this as a pandemic. And wow, it feels like it's been perhaps maybe 5 years instead of just February, because so much has taken place. So I'll start with you, Leah. The city of Miramar, we were so proud in how you represented our community and our healthcare system when we saw you on MSNBC and CNN when South Florida was the epicenter of the cases in the nation with the positivity rates with COVID-19. Can you just share with us in terms of how to treat COVID-19 now, how the healthcare system was able to weather that storm, and just basically how the coronavirus has just changed the healthcare system?
It really has, Mayor Messam. So I will tell you that you're right. The time frame was early March, and we started to see our numbers spiking up. We started seeing it all over the city, all over the county, and I think our greatest concern really was safety of our patients, safety of our staff, safety of our physicians, safety of the community. And without the wherewithal and the commitment of our board and our president, Aurelio Fernandez, I'm not sure that we would have weathered the storm. They really just poured in the resources and the finances that we needed. We had to bring in over 300 traveling nurses. We had to secure PPEs for an indefinite amount of time. We still don't know how long this virus is going to last. We had to make sure that the safety of our employees, our frontline workers, were intact, because without them, we don't have anyone to take care of everybody. So there was a lot of behind the scenes work that had to happen. I think first and foremost was, how are we going to take care of COVID patients? There's a certain type of environment that they have to be in. We had to convert 6 hospitals, multiple units on those hospitals, so that there was negative pressure and we could safely care for them. Then we had to make sure that the supplies were there. We had to make sure we had enough ventilators, and we had enough gloves and masks and a whole host of other supplies. So that was a real big piece of it in the beginning. And then it was, what are we going to do with all these people who are flooding to our emergency rooms? How do we help them understand, educate, push information out so they know where they should be and where they shouldn't be? So we ended up having to put up tents all over the district so that we could separate the COVID patients from the non-COVID patients, so that we ourselves weren't responsible for the spread of this virus. I think the other thing that we did very early on is we partnered with the National Guard, and we started a testing site at C.B. Smith Park that would take a lot of the testing off of the campuses so that we could focus on caring for the patients. So it was literally like we were at war. And I had a war room. Every single one of my fellow CEOs, we had a war room, or what we call a command center. We were there for 18, 19 hours out of the day. We worked 7 days on end for at least 6 months. It was probably the biggest challenge of my entire career. And I've been in this business for 33 years, almost 34. Biggest challenge I've ever experienced. I can tell you that the frontline workers, the first responders, are probably the single largest inspiration to me. To watch what they endure, to watch them come together, to see my ICU staff head to toe in PPEs, bruises on their faces because wearing the mask so long, never complained about anything. Their commitment and the reason they took the oath for what they did, it just shined through the entire time. So that's on the professional side. And we've done a host of things for our staff because we had to make sure that they were okay. So everything from their physical needs in developing hotel stays for them so that they didn't take the virus home on their clothes to their employees. So lots of things have happened over these 7 months, but what was probably most profound for me was not only did I live it professionally, but I lived it personally. And sometime toward the late part of August, I contracted the virus. And I did not contract a mild version of the virus. I was very ill. Probably 2 or 3 nights of where I almost was admitted and had to be on a ventilator. So I have professional firsthand experience, traumatizing, worst thing I've ever been through. And I'm sharing tonight for the first time ever publicly because I want people to understand that this virus is still in the community. We have got to keep washing our hands. We have got to keep wearing our masks. We have to continue to social distance the way we have tonight. It is not going away. I am fearful that we will see another surge, so we need to prevent that from happening. So, the adaptation, the new normal for all of us, healthcare, business, the city is continuing to evolve.
Well, Leah, we thank you for not only for your professional contributions to help fight this pandemic, but just your personal testimony, because we do need to realize that this pandemic is still out there. The virus is still there. So on behalf of the City of Miramar and our residents, please extend our most sincerest thanks to all of your colleagues at Memorial. You've always been a great partner with the City of Miramar, and we know that we have the best hospital district in the country. Now, on to Sylvia with Fire Rescue. So nice to see you tonight. Being a paramedic fire rescue, you've seen it all and you've heard it all. And I'm sure that you have some not only challenges just in your normal line of work, but explain to us just the new dynamics that COVID-19 brings to the table as fire rescue and responding to potential, let's say, COVID-19 calls?
Well, this pandemic is completely different than what we're used to dealing with. It's actually taken our profession to a whole completely different level, where it has evolved to where we treat every call as if it was a COVID-19 positive call. It's unfortunate, but our responses first start with our dispatch. The information that our 911 operator gathers and transfers over to us is crucial. When we're on scene, we have to treat everyone as if they were positive, whether they say so or not, because we can't test on the field, and we can't determine that in the field. So we have to protect them as well as protect ourselves. And then once, we also try to limit the amount of first responders to our patients. So 2 of us will stay in the truck, and 1 of us will walk down and assess the patient. If they did not have a fever or any COVID symptoms, then we would all walk down and treat the patient. Now, when it came to transporting the patient as well, 1 responder will stay in the back of the rescue, just, again, to minimize for the patient and for ourselves. And then once we went to the hospital, we had to transfer the patient to a special area. Then after that, we could not go back into service until we decontaminated the entire rescue. So a call that would take 30 to 45 minutes now actually takes an hour and a half to sometimes 2 hours, just because of all the equipment and decontamination that we have to do. And also, we also have that worry when we come back from the call that we might bring it back to the station. So we also decontaminate the station, several times throughout the day. And, even our families are worried as well, since we see it and we encounter it every single day, especially in the beginning. They were very worried, that we might bring it back home. Especially, I have several coworkers who have small children and elderly at home. But we have learned to adapt to this, and hopefully it is over soon. Because for me personally, I miss that personal interaction with my patients. You lose a lot of emotional gestures with the mask on. You can't really see if you're smiling or you're not. And sometimes they just need a hug, because they're having a really bad day and we can't even do that. So those are just some of the precautions we're taking, and that's just one of the things that I miss in what we're doing.
Well, Sylvia, thank you so much for personalizing the experience. And that's why I thought it was important for our residents to be able to just to get a glimpse of what it's really like, not just to know you as a professional, but just the human side, because behind the mask, behind all the training, behind the sirens, is Sylvia and a family. And we appreciate you, and we appreciate all of our fire rescue and first responders and what you're doing during this very tough time.
Thank you.
And Major Smith, thank you so much. Being in charge of code compliance in the city of Miramar. Obviously we're very strict in terms of doing our role as a city to ensure that the CDC guidelines are met, executive orders from the state and the Florida Health Department, as well as Broward County, our partners with Broward County. And for those of you who don't know, if you see any violations that are being taken place, you can call 311 to make those reports. But can you just walk our residents and business owners through what code compliance means to the city of Miramar in the age of the pandemic? Some folks may think that, our code enforcement officers are just happy out there just writing citations for violators, but give us a glimpse of what it's like in terms of code compliance in the age of COVID-19.
Sure, thank you, Mayor. Code compliance is really unique in that our name is code compliance. And so what we are looking for from our community is for compliance. We want you to know that we are a partner, we are a resource, and we are here for our residents as well as our business community. And we cannot do our part to stop the spread of COVID-19 without the partnership that we forged with our residents and our business community. I can tell you that we do not enjoy going out and giving citations. We like to give opportunity, we like to educate, we like to engage, and we encourage our residents and our businesses to contact us if they have questions. We have been out in the community conducting inspections because that's an integral part of stopping the spread of COVID-19. But again, I cannot stress enough that we are looking for compliance. And I really, really have to applaud our business community because they have really, really been proactive, they have been ready, and they have been resilient as we navigate through this pandemic together. I was elated to know that when we started doing our inspections back in May, that a lot of the businesses, they were already on board. They had already contacted us. They had already gone on the county's website and gotten information. And I really, really want to thank them. And I will take something from your book and give them a virtual round of applause, which they deserve. So again, thank you. When we are out conducting inspections, what we're actually looking for to help stop the spread, and again, collective effort, we want you, one, to know that everyone must wear your facial coverings. That is the first step. Number two, if you're a business owner, we ask that you educate your patrons. Make sure they're wearing their facial coverings and that you're also providing the hand sanitizing stations for them as well. Hand washing is paramount as we navigate through this pandemic. Three, we also ask that you observe social distancing guidelines. 6 feet apart is the standard. For our restaurant community, again, 6 people to a table, no more than 6 to a table. But as we have had 28 executive orders, 28. And again, collectively, we have navigated through this, and it's been an awesome process. And I ask that if you have any questions or concerns, please give us a call. Co-compliance is always available. You can contact us at 954-602-3174, or you can email us at cocompliance@MiramarPD.org.
Thanks so much, Major Smith. We know that it's not always easy to go out to enforce our code and to ensure code compliance, and especially with the moving target, with the ever-changing requirements, the ever-changing executive orders, and providing that education first to our community, I think establishes that partnership. And then the enforcement really is really brought down on the habitual offenders who are not compliant with what they should be. So, and I'll just take this opportunity just to remind our public that, we've been experiencing some uptick, in the positivity rates, and this virus is here. Until the medical community can catch up and provide, a reliable vaccine that can be administered worldwide till we can get to some form of what normalcy used to be, we're going to have to coexist with this virus, and doing your part helps all of our partners be able to be there for you and to be able to help the community as a whole. So I'd like to thank our panelists for all that you do. We are definitely a team effort, and we cannot get through this without each of your respective roles in our community. So as I close out on this COVID section of the state of the city, I recognize that there has been some losses in our community. Whether you have a loved one, a parent, or friend in the hospital that you are not allowed to visit can be a very tough situation. And even more grave, many of our residents have lost loved ones as a result of this virus. And that the city of Miramar and our staff is no exception. And actually, at this time, we would just like to thank everyone for just staying positive as you can and being strong as a community so that we can get through this together as a community. But I do want to take this time to recognize and to honor our very own Miramar staff members who did not make it through this period. We have 3 friends, colleagues that we all cared for and loved that did great work for this city that did not make it. And we want to pause just for a moment of silence for them, as well as for those in the community who have not made it. And at this time, we'll pause for a brief moment of silence in their memory and honor. So what does the future of Miramar look like? We've just had an opportunity to learn about our past year's accomplishments. We've had an understanding of the impacts of COVID-19 and how it directly impacted our residents, our business community, as well as our employees. But as a city, we have to realize for the foreseeable future that we must exist with this pandemic. But that cannot stop our vision. That cannot stop the direction we will go. So what is our new norm? In order to realize our vision for the city of Miramar and to move our way forward under this new norm, we need to address our challenges head on. And therefore, our first challenge is our budget stressors to our general fund. Second is our existence with COVID-19, not only protecting our residents and our business community, but also keeping our city staff safe while providing services. Third, remaining relevant and remaining number one as a corporate leader is so important. And finally, we must evolve with the changing economy so that our community can continue to be an attractive place to work, live, and play. Now let's take a look at solutions to address the rising rate of personnel costs. There are just some factors that we can't control, like tariffs, inflation, demands for services, federal regulations, unfunded mandates that impact the increase of personnel costs. But there are some things that we can control, and we do have a plan to address this stressor on our general fund. Some of our budget initiatives include the creation of our on-site health clinic for our employees' medical benefits. We're currently right now contemplating an early retirement incentive program that we must pass that will save the city $29 million as proposed. Working hand in hand with our union and collaborating on their collective bargaining agreements, and freezing non-essential positions. These are just some of the budget initiatives that we have in place that will benefit the city of Miramar and put us on the right course. Our second challenge is keeping our community safe and coexisting with COVID-19. We've already begun this process. I issued an emergency order at the beginning of this pandemic. We're working hand in hand with Broward County and the state of Florida and the CDC to ensure that our community receives the information that it needs. We are playing our part to making sure that our community is safe. We're even thinking about and putting motions into place for the planning of vaccinations when it should become available. Who in the city will get those vaccinations, and when and where will be those locations? These are all the foresight and planning that has to go on. And we are also taking steps with our city facility. When you have to access our city facilities, they will be safe, they will be clean. We are incorporating concepts to separate the need for person-to-person contact. We are making as many services virtual as possible, whether it's payments through our online payment system where we've waived certain fees, online permitting for permits. We're also looking at temperature checks when entering our facilities, as well as screenings. And since the beginning of this pandemic, we've continued to partner with Feeding South Florida and offering meals every Thursday at Miramar Regional Park. Now, the strength of our economic development is our ability to attract companies. But just as we're number one today, there is no guarantee that we'll be number one tomorrow. So by setting a goal of remaining relevant and being number one is a big, big priority for me. I want to ensure that the city of Miramar continues to be having a productive, proactive relationship with not only our corporate residents, but our residents as well. We need to ensure that our corporations understand that the City of Miramar is providing resources and collaborations with higher education to ensure that our residents have the training and education foundation to be great employees for their community. If a company in our city needs additional training, we have resources to ensure that their staff and their teams continues to evolve to remaining relevant and successful as businesses, because when our corporations are successful, that means that they can continue to employ our residents. And we know that this is a partnership, and we continue to work hand in hand. For example, with Broward College, we have a collaboration with Broward College with the Broward Up program, which will provide free technical training to our residents, specifically in the 33023 zip code, which has been designated a target area to improve and to provide these services. We also are in the process of establishing smart city collaborations with FIU to ensure that the city of Miramar is using information and technology to drive decisions, as well as to perform city services so that we can be more efficient, more responsive, as well as more sensitive to the taxpayer and our budget. And finally, in terms of remaining relevant, a very dynamic and innovative proposal is the Miramar Innovation Village, which is planned in the heart of downtown historic Miramar. It will provide an innovation and technology village, housing, and transportation hub. It will be the first of its kind in Broward County. What does that mean for Miramar? Our corporate success has been centered primarily off of the I-75 and Miramar Parkway corridor. With the implementation of this innovation village, it will now bring and expand corporate and innovation technology advancement to the heart of historic Miramar. There will not be a segment or sector in the city of Miramar that does not have the ability and capability to train the workforce, to create innovation and public-private partnerships, in addition to providing transportation and housing options for our community. I am so excited to work on this project, and I look forward to its passage and our collaboration with the private sector to bring it to life. Now, when we implement these solutions successfully, we can imagine Miramar as not only a place to raise a family safely, not only as a place to get a high-paying job, not only as a place to have a fun day at the park, and not only as a place to find a beautiful place to call home. We will have a Miramar that will endure and will be sustainable for generations to come. I'm so excited for us. I'm so thrilled to be able to stand before you today to say that not only the state of our city is strong, but the state of our future is promising if we only continue to imagine Miramar as that place that we all know that she can be. So will you join me? Will you join the Miramar Commission? Will you join the city staff? And will you join your neighbors and standing side by side and working together to bringing Miramar into the future where we will remain an amazing place to call home and one of the most great cities to live, work, and play. Take a look and imagine Miramar.
Good evening. I'm Sean Gale, Assistant City Manager and spokesperson here at the City of Miramar. And as Mayor Messam mentioned earlier in the address, he would be taking questions from our audience. And Mayor Messam, from very early in the address this afternoon, we started getting questions from the public, so we're going to jump right into them and have you speak to our audience.
All right, let's go.
So the first question, does the City of Miramar have a plan or a limitation for development in order to avoid overdevelopment and crowding, especially in regards to new developments west of University Drive all the way to Chrome Avenue?
Yes, that's a great question. I would just like to let our public know that the City of Miramar, we do have a land development code that basically governs development in the City of Miramar. There's a process that has to take place. Any new proposed development of any significance more than likely would need or require some entitlement change or some zoning change. That zoning and entitlement change, depending on the gravity of the project, could perhaps require state approval, county approval, as well as the local municipality approval. So there's public input. So we don't do these developments in a vacuum.
Right.
So any application, any developer has the right to submit an application, but they have to meet certain requirements that have to be met. And along the way, there is public inspection, there's public input, and you have a city commission that ultimately would have to approve that development that would require any zoning change.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, sir. Now, this viewer started out by saying, not sure if this is the right forum, but anytime we get a chance to talk to our residents, it is the right forum.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask this question to you, sir. It's inquiring on homeowners policy being canceled and being unable to find home insurance providers because of a roof maintenance issue. So the roof needs maintenance and they can't find someone to insure the home. They've reached out to the bank and they're currently not offering home equity loans for repairs. Where do they turn?
Well, there are many sources you can turn to, but one particular source you can turn to is the City of Miramar. The City of Miramar, in terms of these types of repairs, residents can qualify for home rehabilitation grants that the city offers. And if you can contact our community development department or even now our economic development office to get those requirements to be able to see what if your property qualifies or if you as a homeowner, if you qualify for that. There are also other programs like the PACE program that is designed to help with weatherization, new roof, new windows, doors, HVAC systems, AC systems that could help perhaps help this resident who may be challenged with some repairs that they need to have in their home, because ultimately everyone wants to have the security of knowing that their property is safe and it is protected. So wherever we may have a resource that is available, our commitment is to provide you what the qualification information is and to help provide you the resources so that you can be on your way to a successful application.
Awesome, awesome. Hopefully that helps our viewer. So earlier on, when you listed the number of developments that are here in the city, you mentioned a senior affordable housing development. And so this viewer wants to know, when will the senior housing come to fruition?
Okay, that's a great question. Actually, the City of Miramar, we've been very aggressive in seeking out public-private partnerships, just due to the fact that the city on its own does not have all of the resources to do its own housing project for seniors. So what we do is we either leverage city-owned land or leverage city-owned assets, perhaps even some dollars, work with private developers to as a partnership to bring forth these types of developments. And the City of Miramar was active with 2 partnerships. Both applicants were applicants to the Florida Housing Corporation, which is a tax credit financing for affordable housing. And these applicants are ranked based off their application. Developers across the state compete for these dollars. Right. When you close on real estate, the doc stamps that are collected, upwards of $300 million goes to Tallahassee, which is supposed to be designated for affordable housing.
Right.
That's what these developers apply for. And one of the applications, which was with our public-private partnership with the Miami Archdiocese, with their property located across from Regional Park,
Yes.
applied for one of those types of developments, and it was approved for funding. So they will go through that funding process. They will submit their building permits for approval. We can check to see what's the status of where they are in that process. But I would imagine that this project would probably come online within the next probably 2 to 3 years, depending on their finance package, their design consultants coming up with the drawings for permits and approval through our building department, and then the construction phase.
Right, so stay tuned. It's on its way. So this next question, how will the new building development at Town Center, and this is in Block 2 right here, affect cultural and public events outside of Town Center? That lot is used for parking and space.
Yes, that's a great question. Well, the master plan for Town Center always included the development of Block 2. Block 2, due to the non-performance of the prior owner, left the lot vacant, which we were able to use as a flat surface parking lot. This development will also have a parking structure there for its occupants and tenants, as well as our residents may be happy to know that just right across the street on Hiatus, there's a park and ride parking facility that's being constructed right now. That can be used as overflow parking for Town Center, as well as for Anson Park. And we also have our own parking garage right here at Town Center. Many folks don't know that they can go in and park in open spaces in the parking garage because they just, by habit, go to the surface lot. So we'll have multiple areas for our residents who choose to come to the cultural center when we can reopen the cultural center, or for any festivities that may be at Town Center.
So Mayor Mesa, when we talk about the state of the city, the state of this city or any city is directly linked to the approved budget by our city commission. So how has the last budget that the commission approved affected services in the city of Miramar in a COVID-19 environment?
Well, I'm proud to say that the Miramar City Commission, along with myself, we approved the budget that will not diminish any of our services that we provide to our community. We have really, through the creativity of our professional staff, under our leadership of our city manager, Vernon Hargrave, has put together a very robust budget for the 2021 year that will ensure that we will be able to provide all of our public services that we have been able to provide without any furloughs or without any layoffs. As I shared in the presentation in the State of the City address, that I identified what many of our challenges are moving forward. And I could not be more proud of our city staff that has already put together a plan. Now, many aspects of that plan has to be approved by the City Commission, and I'm confident that the City Commission ultimately will get to the place to be able to take advantage of those proposals.
Awesome. And in your address, you also spoke about the over 40 parks and open spaces that we have in the city, and our dog park that has been open. When can our residents expect to see these parks open for the different activities, for aquatics, for basketball, volleyball, for just walking in the park? When can they expect to see us move to full services with restrooms and so on?
Well, as our residents may know, our parks are all open now to some level for passive use for physical activity. In fact, now with the latest, one of the latter Broward County executive orders even now allows organized sports play, which we do now in the city of Miramar under certain guidelines pursuant to the executive order. Now, once we are able to be in a position to go to phase 3 opening, which will then allow even more usage, like reinstalling the basketball hoops and basketball play and some of the other activities that our residents have come accustomed to enjoying. Do know that we are currently working on that. However, the City of Miramar, we have put a priority on the safety of our residents. We closely monitor CDC guidelines. We closely monitor and work collaboratively with Broward County executive orders, because ultimately what we want to do is to lessen the experiences that you just heard from Leah Carpenter as a hospital administrator. We don't want to be the source of the uptick of the virus because of activities like tackle football, our sandlot football in the green space, our pickup basketball games where there's literally no social distancing, and there just invites an environment for the spread of the virus. Because ultimately what we have to do, and all of these guidelines basically boil down to one thing: the virus being contained or controlled to the point where our healthcare system can adequately treat anyone that wants to go or has to go to the hospital. The minute our healthcare system is overwhelmed, then we are in for a disaster. When there are not enough ventilators, when there are not enough beds, when there are not enough ICU units, all of those metrics, we track this every day in terms of the occupancy and availability. So I know in our own personal worlds, we so desperately want to go out and enjoy these parks,
Right.
but at the end of the day, as the mayor, I'd rather you be upset with me and the commission and the city staff because we've closed the park, and you be alive to argue with us about why it should be open, than you being in ICU, or even worse, meeting death because of the complications of the virus.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, sir. So a few remaining questions. My husband and I recently moved to West Miramar over the summer. We're happy with our purchase, only to learn, and this is about blasting. They have experienced the earthquake-like blast on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, as a matter of fact. And they understand that this has been going on for over 10 years. Are there any plans to get this to stop? And if not, what can they do as a community to get the blasting to stop?
Well, I would share with our new resident, and first, thanks for choosing the City of Miramar. And I would like to inform our new resident that the City of Miramar has been very aggressive in terms of fighting blasting. First off, blasting is illegal in Broward County, as well as illegal in the City of Miramar. So the question is, then why do I hear shaking? Whereas because of the white rock quarry that sits about 2 miles south of our city limits, where there's the aggregate extraction that is taking place, and that is what our resident is feeling. The City of Miramar has established a blasting advisory board, which meets monthly to discuss some of these issues. We have met with the fire marshal of the state. We've met with our state legislatures to help effectuate legislation to try to limit the impacts of blasting. Basically, right now, the climate in Tallahassee is not in support of shutting down a quarry, especially a quarry that provides 60% of the aggregate of FDOT projects across the state. It's an important and vital component to the building industry. And one of the other caveats is that what we would call the nuisance has been there prior to the suburban sprawl out westward. So what the goal is to get to a place where if residents experience damage from blastings, that they have a legal process to seek remedy, as well as to get the limits lowered. That has been our city's goal, is to try to get the blasting to either diminish to the point where it's not felt, and if there is damage due to the blasting, that our residents have some reprieve or some process to be restored. And currently, right now, state statutes in that process is very punitive to the personal property owner that tries to seek remedy. And we'll continue to fight for our residents to get to a better place than where we are right now.
Thank you so much for that, sir. Our next question, do you know what percentage of Miramar residents also work in the city, and what percentage have those high-paying jobs?
Well, in terms of the high-paying jobs that I talked about in the city of Miramar.
Address.
Yeah. So during the address, the city of Miramar, we have been very successful in attracting targeted industries that relocate to the city of Miramar. That program has just recently been stopped by the state of Florida, which basically means that the state of Florida will pay a company, give them certain tax exemptions, and will pay them dollars for every dollar they create in targeted industries like aviation, which is one of our largest industries, biosciences, which is an emerging business sector in the city of Miramar. And when these companies come and when they create these jobs, they get incentives. And the city of Miramar and Broward County also participates in this. I think because of our location is why we attract these companies. So when you look at all of the companies along 148th and the Turnpike and I-75 and the corporate parks, these are companies that are international companies, national companies like Siemens, Carnival, so many companies, you just named them, it just goes endless, that are companies you never know that are here in the city of Miramar. And they're looking for talent, and the talent is here in Miramar. And so that when we're able to make these jobs announcements and when we are able to partner with the Greater Fort Lauderdale Alliance, which, by the way, the city of Miramar is the only municipality that has ever been recognized by the Greater Fort Lauderdale Alliance as the Economic Development Partner of the Year for basically our economic development agency in Broward County. And that is something that we're very proud of.
Exactly.
Because what that means is that when a company wants to move to South Florida, Miramar is on the top of the list in terms of a referral, because we understand how to work with corporations to ensure that these opportunities come to the city of Miramar. Now, to extend the answer, and it's going back to the presentation, one of the desires out of the Innovation Village is to ensure that when these companies come here, that they don't have to import workers.
Right.
That we are working with our corporate partners, we are working with higher education like Florida Atlantic University, FIU, University of Miami, all of our local higher ed education centers to help develop and train our residents so that they can be ready for these jobs of tomorrow. The more we prepare our residents and get them prepared for these opportunities, the better our companies feel that they can continue to grow and innovate with the human capital and human resources that are here, because they'll be successful because the talent is right here and they know that they have a willing participant and a partner in the city of Miramar.
Great, thank you so much, sir. And the questions keep coming in, but I think we're going to take two more in the interest of time.
Yes.
The 2020 ballot proposes a charter amendment that would let Broward County ignore city zoning laws when building new transportation corridors and infrastructure. If this is passed into law, how will it affect the city of Miramar development?
So on that question, which is the second question on the ballot, and I'll just speak from a personal perspective because the City of Miramar Commission has not voted on any position on this. If you are a voter and you want your local municipality to have input on any surtax project that is being done by Broward County that would require any entitlement or zoning change, that the county does not have the right just to be able to come and put a bus stop or put a roadway or put one of these transportation projects in the city without our input or our process to approve. I understand that Broward County has had some challenges with some municipalities in terms of bringing forward projects. But the city of Miramar and Broward County has an excellent relationship, very professional relationship, yes. and I anticipate that to continue to happen. But if you're a resident and you're a voter and you want your city to have the final say on anything that would require zoning change that the county is doing, you would vote no on that amendment option. If you are indifferent or don't care and you feel that the county will do the right thing, then you can vote yes. So.
Perfect. And so why don't we take our last question,
yes.
sir, in the interest of time. So as we're on the road to expand, and you've shown that we are still growing in the city of Miramar, so as we're on the road to expanding, what plans are in place to enhance our transportation sector?
Yes, excellent question. Well, we're already on the way with the City of Miramar and Metropolitan Organization, Transportation, the MPO, that we have. It's a collaboration of the municipalities in the Broward County Board of County Commissioners that does the master planning for transportation in coordination with Florida Department of Transportation. All of our major thoroughfares at some stage or another is getting expansion. For those residents who have just endured the widening of the Miramar Parkway I-75 expansion, which expanded lanes and has really improved traffic on the East Corridor. Currently, right now, we've been approved for the expansion and the connections of Pembroke Road to US 27,
Yes.
Which will help transportation between Pembroke Pines and Miramar going east to west on a major thoroughfare at the border of perhaps two of the most populous cities in Broward County. And there are many smaller projects, complete street projects that are going on, making our roadways more pedestrian and bicycle friendly.
Yes,
So there are, I would invite the resident to visit our capital improvement plan to see the roadway projects that have been planned.
Yes.
You can also go to the MPO website to see the list of projects and where the Miramar projects stack up on there. So we're continuously, our city engineers have a great relationship. I think the city of Miramar perhaps is one of the most successful cities in the first round of the surtax, when the voters in 2016 approved the half-cent sales tax for transportation projects. Many of our projects were approved, and we're ecstatic about getting them along the way. So, but we're always mindful of transportation. We know that development brings more transportation. There are extensive traffic studies that are done. And we hold the developers to the fire. If they can check all the boxes and if they're going to put in improvements that will make commutes more accessible. And I'll close with this. Being futuristic and thinking, I always like to think about when I'm not the mayor. 10, 15, 20 years from now, what decisions are we making right now?
Absolutely.
You know, we have to prepare for the gig economy. The city is aggressively implementing smart city concepts. As 5G continues to expand, it will impact transportation.
Absolutely.
There's going to be a lot of data connection. What will our roadways look like for autonomous vehicles? And that's not a fantasy. Autonomous vehicles are on the road right now. What provisions we need to make, what land use codes we need to adopt in preparation, what infrastructure we need to have in place so that if we're going to remain number one, our buildings have to advance, our roadways have to advance, diversity of modes of transportation. Everything is not going to remain as cars. We will be in autonomous vehicles, we will bike, we will be pedestrians. So we have to think comprehensively what transportation will look like 15, 20 years from now and what investments we need to make so that we remain relevant and that we remain on top.
Thank you so much, Mayor Messam, for that wealth of information. And thank you to our viewers for engaging in our State of the City address. And thank you for allowing that in this virtual environment for our viewers to be a part of this event. And I'll turn over to you for the next segment.
Yes. So I would like to thank everyone for tuning in to our State of the City. And it's not quite over yet. I'm so excited to introduce, which will follow after these closing remarks, are the special messages from the members of the Miramar City Commission. And they'll share with you what they've been doing in the city and what their initiatives are. So stay tuned, and thank you so much for enjoying this virtual State of the City. It's a historic day in Miramar because it's our first, and thanks for sharing it with us, and enjoy the messages from the Miramar City Commission. Take care, and we'll see you soon.
Hi, this is Commissioner Winston Barnes with something of a review of the year which is coming to an end. In the 17 years I've served this fair city, this has probably been the most challenging thanks to a virus called COVID-19. What it has done is test the resolve and the ability of the city to respond to unexpected events. I'm convinced we've done a good job. Staff at every level have stood up and served our residents well, from the distribution of food supplies for needy residents to the monitoring of businesses. Honoring protocols called for, we have been able to display a level of flexibility which is exemplary. In a meeting with our budget team early this year, I suggested that the 2021 budget should indicate what the city was not going to spend. Staff came back with a budget which is not only balanced, but one which does not sacrifice any of the services Miramar provides for its residents as well as the business community. Are we at a perfect place? Definitely not. What we have been able to do is meet a major challenge in a firm and effective manner. Improvements in the infrastructure will continue apace, like the upcoming opening of the new police substation and to come, the innovation zone, among other entities. Challenges will come, but this city will meet them in the steadfast way it has this new and different year. I'm convinced our residents will acknowledge that despite the serious challenges, we have done a good job. On behalf of us all who serve the community, I ask for your continued support. God bless you all and our fair city.
I'm Yvette Coburn, and it's my honor to serve as your City of Miramar Commissioner. Miramar continues to be a resilient city of beauty and progress, even during a global pandemic, feeding thousands of families weekly through a food distribution partnership with Feeding South Florida, providing COVID-19 grants and personal protective equipment to our businesses. With the senior centers closed, I immediately saw the need to deliver hot meals to our seniors. To date, we have served over 7,000 meals. For relief from the impact of blasting, I sponsored a resolution asking the governor not to allow blasting during COVID-19. We approved the resolution denouncing the killing of George Floyd. And during the pandemic, we saw our community of whites, blacks, Hispanics, young and old, peacefully protesting as one Miramar. The completion of Phase 3 drainage improvements demonstrates our commitment to the revitalization of historic Miramar. We provided support to small businesses and saw the impact that the renovation of the B&M Shopping Plaza had in historic Miramar. We continue the beautification of Sherman Circle area with plans to construct a beautiful sound barrier wall on Pembroke Road in early 2021. To address traffic congestion, we applied for and obtained surtax dollars to fund the design and expansion of Pembroke Road to US 27. This year, the Commission approved a budget that does not include property tax increase, furloughs, or layoffs of employees, promoting equality for women and honoring the life and legacy of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. We approved the creation of a commission on the status of women. It was an honor to lead the City of Miramar 2020 census count, to educate our community and to shape our future. You responded at a rate higher than the previous census. I am especially proud of our mayor, my fellow commissioners, city employees, and volunteers for rising to the occasion during 2020, and our residents for making Miramar count. Thank you, and may God bless you all.
Greetings to our Miramar residents and business owners. My name is Alexandra P. Davis, and it's indeed a pleasure to serve you here in our beautiful city. 2020 has been and still is a very challenging year, and I trust that you are being safe and doing your best to follow all CDC guidelines that include wearing a facial mask, social distancing, avoiding large crowds, and washing your hands. Since my last State of the City update, there have been several initiatives that I have been able to implement and others that are on the horizon. The historic police substation is just about ready to open its doors and will provide for a local law enforcement facility in our easternmost neighborhoods, mirroring those already established in our central and western neighborhoods. The Art in Public Places Fund has been approved and has the ability to increase the amount of artwork in public places throughout our city, creating a better quality of life for all. The tree trimming and pruning grant program has been established to enable residents to apply for assistance in pruning their trees and roots. New upgrades to Harbour Lake Park have been implemented, which now boasts a tot lot with playground equipment. The road resurfacing of Monarch Lakes Boulevard from Red Road to and along 136th Avenue has been completed. Prior to COVID-19, we were celebrating many notable events throughout the city, such as Latin Nights, Asian Heritage Month, Jamaican Independence Dance, Afro-Caribbean Festival, among others. Even with COVID-19, I've been able to conduct drive-through Haitian and Hispanic heritage free luncheon events in partnership with our local businesses. As we head into the new budget year, we're pleased to say that we've been able to balance the budget without raising the millage rate or increasing fire service fee, instead opting to use funds from our reserves. I'm excited to announce the dog park that I proposed back in 2014 is now a reality, with the opening of the city's first paw park on October 20th. We also have very exciting news for our tweens and teens and lovers of skateboarding, roller skating, and the like. We will have our first skate park, which is scheduled to open spring of 2021. And will be named in honor of one of my students who died tragically riding his skateboard at his Miramar home. Let's continue to be our brother's keeper as we face this common enemy, COVID-19. We'll continue to do our best to provide for you, the residents and business owners, and we will get through this together.
Hello, Miramar. I'm your mayor, Wayne Messam. And despite the COVID-19 pandemic, I'm here to share with you that the state of the city is still strong. I'm on location at the historic Shirley Bronco Park, standing in front of the band shell. I picked this location to feature my initiative this year because I am so excited about all the developments that are taking place right here in historic Miramar. The developments that will take place will be the introduction of the Innovation Village. It will bring housing, technical training, a transportation hub, and so many more benefits that will revitalize historic Miramar. I recognize and understand that the future of our city is in the heart of our youth. And the more we invest in our youth, the better they will be. That is why more than half of my initiatives are featured and focused on the development of our youth. This year, I'll continue to bring the Aviation Expo, which will be virtual this year, and we will continue our partnership with Florida Vocational Institute with the Technology Boot Camp, which brings technical training and development to our youth to expose them to information technology to prepare them for the gig economy. And perhaps one of my favorite initiatives is my mentorship program with the My Brother's Keepers program, mentoring young men in our community. I'm really passionate about this initiative, and there's many opportunities for our corporate leaders, our community organizations, and parents to partner with the mayor's office in ensuring that our at-risk young men can have an opportunity to achieve all that they desire in life. In response to the pandemic, my newest youth initiative is the Mayor Messam's No Digital Divide Challenge. This initiative is in partnership with Comcast's Internet Essentials program to provide high-speed internet to qualified families. There may be some students in our community that are at risk of being able to get online with high-speed, reliable internet. My office will sponsor 100 families to provide them high-speed internet. You can donate to the City of Miramar to help fund high-speed internet for those families that really need this access so that their children can continue to be educated. I will also extend this challenge to my colleague mayors across Broward County. The City of Miramar has never been afraid to take on challenges head-on. In the midst of the economic recession, in 2013, I proposed a revenue bond that served to help fund some of the city's most iconic projects, including the city's brand new police headquarters, our soon-to-open police substation right here in historic Miramar, as well as River Run Park, Monarch Lakes Park, the brand new dog park that opened up at the regional park, as well as the upcoming skate park that has been proposed. That type of leadership is required when we are faced with tremendous challenges, especially during economic hardship. Today is no different. the city continues to face additional new challenges. For example, housing and the way that we provide our services to the community. I will be leading the effort to bring forward the adoption of a housing authority in the city of Miramar. When we received word that the city of Miramar was the second least affordable city in the entire state of Florida, we recognized that we needed to do something now. And with the creation of a housing authority, it will allow the city to bring our own resources as well as to apply for many federal, state, and county grants to be able to ensure that we can invest in the city of Miramar to ensure that no resident is left behind as it relates to housing. To expand public trust between our residents and the police department, it is important to me that the police department and our residents have a very strong working relationship. I've created the Mayor Messum's Public Safety Council that will be reviewing our use of force policies and our hiring practices to provide feedback to the Miramar City Commission, the city manager, and the police chief so that our community can know that their police department is working on everyone's best interest. So stay tuned on that report. Our city is one of the most diverse communities in America, and as such, we must ensure that there is inclusion from top to bottom. A part of the mayor's equity agenda, we will be developing and bringing forward an MWE policy that will address the city's disparity study that showed that there was disparity in the way that we procure goods and services and certain services in the city of Miramar. We will also examine all of our operations to ensure that no one is left behind and that we are inclusive in our beautiful city. I know 2020 has been a roller coaster of a year dealing with the pandemic, but we've survived this together and we'll continue to work together to navigate this storm. I want you to stay in touch with me by tuning in to my periodic conversations with Mayor Messum. Before, the conversations used to be throughout the city at various physical locations, but you can join me on important topics that are important to you and what matter virtually on the City of Miramar's Facebook page. So stay tuned for our next topic, and we look forward to you joining us online. Take care and have a wonderful 2020-2021 fiscal year.